Hi, my name is Jeannie, and the topic for today is oneness of self and environment. What does that mean in Nichiren Buddhism? So I've been chanting for 14 years, and this is the hardest, probably the hardest Buddhist concept or Nichiren Buddhist concept to follow, but it's one of the most important one. And I swear, if this was a subject in school, I would have failed this one for 14 years. That's how bad I am. It's really hard because as ordinary human beings, we usually blame our external circumstances or other people for our suffering. And it's very human, and it's very, but it's not a Nichiren Buddhist way. It's not the Nichiren Buddhist way, because Nichiren Buddhists believe that our external circumstances, our environment is actually just an extension of us, the causes that we created. So a few years ago, I met not met, but I read an experience from one of the SGI members, and he talked about how he had accumulated so much debt, and I think he was in business, and his business failed, and he was just desperate, and people were after him, the creditors were after him, and the people that he owed money to was really after him. And then he got introduced to the practice of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And through chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, he realized that he had created that he had created that situation, and to be in so much debt that other people were like after him, and his health was failing, because he was stressed out. And when he started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, he realized that he was responsible for it. And he actually had the courage to talk to the people that he owed money to, and he made an arrangement, and he became more responsible. He made changes in his lifestyle, and he just took responsibility. And in 2 years, he was able to pay off his debt. And ordinarily, as human beings, we always look outside of ourselves and oh God, those people are so mean. Let's say you owe money, and then why are they mad at me? Why are they after me? But when you start chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you realize that where your responsibility lies and the creation that you've created. And it also applies to me, because for in my relationship as well, I was blaming my ex. I was like, oh, he's such an awful human being. He left, and he didn't even have the courage to end it in a good way or something. And but as a Nichiren Buddhist, it really made me look within myself, why did this happen to me? And it really took a lot. I had to take a lot of responsibility. What is in me? I actually chanted. I eventually chanted. At first, I was blaming. I was blaming the external circumstances. I was being a victim. I was like, oh, why did that guy leave me? Or wasn't I not good enough? Or he's such an awful human being. He left his dog and stuff like that. I can laugh about it now, but I wasn't really in a good place 2 years ago. I was really suffering. But at that point of suffering, I had to look within myself and had to take responsibility. And I asked myself, what is my contribution? How did I create this? That this guy had done this to me in the most awful way, and he didn't even have the courage to end things well. He just up and left. What is within me? What is within me that needs to change so that I will never experience this again, so that the next guy that I'm with, he will value and respect me? And the answer to that chant, or when I started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it was hard to take. It meant that I realized that, I didn't value myself. And I became a doormat, and Therefore, since I didn't value myself, the other person didn't value me. And there were times when I could have been more loving and kind as well, but I wasn't, and I take responsibility for that as well, for that creation. And it really takes a lot of courage to look within, especially when outside of yourself, you've just created this whole mess. But when I started looking within, I started like actually taking courses, and started dating again, and I hired a relationship coach, and I talked to my cousin that's a relationship coach as well, and I just started like realizing, oh my God, this is why, because when you don't value yourself, do you expect the other person to value you as well? But it took a lot, because it meant that I realized that I was the cause and that was the effect. And another example that I can give is that I worked in the same company with a friend I introduced to Nichiren Buddhism to. So he's still chanting right now. And we were both in the same company, working for the same company, but we were both experiencing different things. So I felt that I was taken advantage of, and that I was just being like put down and stuff at work, and I asked him, like, are you experiencing the same thing? And he said no. And I said, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you not experiencing the same thing? And I realized that he speaks out when he doesn't like something. He speaks out and he tells them, I don't like that. But I realized, because I don't speak out, because I didn't have the courage to speak out, therefore people didn't know my boundaries. They didn't know that there was a boundary, and then I was taken advantage of, and it didn't feel good. And again, instead of blaming them, I realized, oh my God, what is within me that needs to change, so that other people, especially in the workplace, will not take advantage of me? And how can I become an asset as well, to whatever company I'm working in, but at the same time not to be put down, to be valued. And I really chanted a lot of Daimoku to be able to change that. And that's the difference with this practice, is when you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and then there's an external circumstance, or you find yourself in a situation which you do not like and which is causing you to suffer. When you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you look within yourself. What is within me that needs to change in order for this to change? And so if you find yourself that year after year after year after year, you're still broke, or year after year after year after year, you're still miserable in your relationships, or year after year after year, you're still miserable in your workplace, or year after year, you're always sick, what is in you that needs to change? Because the external reality is actually a shadow. So you cannot blame the shadow if the shadow is crooked, if the one creating the shadow is crooked. So therefore, if you who is creating the shadow is standing straight, then the shadow will also follow. And I'm going to read a passage from the website sgi.org, because it's very relevant. The Buddhist principle of oneness of self and environment, Ashofuni, means that life, show, and its environment, E, are inseparable. Funi means two, but not two. This means that although we perceive things around us as separate from us, there is a dimension of our lives that is one with the universe. At the most fundamental level of life itself, there's no separation between ourselves and the environment. Buddhism teaches that life manifests itself in both a living subject and an objective environment. Nichiren wrote, life at each moment encompasses both self and environment of all sentient beings in every condition of life, as well as in sentient beings, plants, sky, and earth, on down to the most minute particle of dust. Life means the subjective self that experiences the effects of past actions and is capable of creating new causes for the future. The environment is the objective realm where the karmic effects of life take shape. Each living being has his or her own unique environment. For example, a person whose inner life is in a state of hell may perceive the environment of the inside of a crowded subway train as being hellish, while a person in a state known in Buddhism as bodhisattva might manage to feel compassion and a sense of camaraderie with the other people pressed around them. People also create physical environments which reflects their inner reality. For instance, someone who's depressed is likely to neglect the home and personal appearances. On the other hand, someone who is secure and generous creates a warm and attractive environment around them. According to Buddhism, everything around us, including work and family relationship, is the reflection of our inner lives. Everything is perceived through the self and alters according to the individual's inner state of life. Thus, if we change ourselves, our circumstances will inevitably change also. So I will use another analogy, and this is the analogy of mirror. So sometimes when we look at the reflection in the mirror, we blame, and we don't like what's in the reflection or on the reflection. We don't change the reflection. We change the one that's creating the reflection, which is us. So if you see dirt like on your face when you're looking in the mirror, you don't like rub the mirror to remove the dirt. You actually rub your face to remove the dirt. It's the same with that, that dog in the fable, Aesop's fable. He was looking at his reflection, he was looking at his reflection in the river, and then he was barking, and then he lost his bone. So he was like blaming the other dog or something like, oh, you have the bone. But then he started barking. He realized like, oh, I'm the one that has the bone or something like that. So basically it means that, so what does it mean on a practical level? It means that our external reality is not fixed. It is not. So if you ever find yourself in a situation right now that you don't like, chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with a determination and with this attitude that what is in me that I need to change in order to make this better, because it's literally not them, it's you. Like I've encountered difficult people in my life, and I'm like, but then I'm often like surprised, like, oh, why is that person nice to you but mean to me? And I realized like, oh, it's because like the way I react to that person, the way I interact with that person is pushing buttons. Because I have buttons inside too, I'm pushing that person's button, and that person is acting in a way or reacting to me as well. But when I start to do things differently, interact with that person differently, that person's behavior changes. And I've encountered that at work a lot of times. There's really a lot of difficult people, and as Nichiren Buddhists, we don't run away from difficulty or difficult situations. We change it. We chant to change our environment, because that's what Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is for. We change so we can create better circumstances, better shadow, better reflection, and it really took me a long time to realize this. And another example I can use from my life, because that's the only way that I can share this teaching, is by because it's a practice. And how did this practice change my life? So a few years ago, when I was working in New York, so there was this, so she was home health aide, and she was mean to me. Like I knocked at the door and she knew I was outside. She waited minutes before she opened the door. She didn't like me, and I was like fuming inside. I was like, oh my God, like this person's so mean. But then I realized, like, you know what, I'm chanting. I'm the one chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Why am I chanting anyway every day if I don't see evidence of this working in real life? Because this is a Buddhism of daily life. It's a daily practice. And I realized, like, you know what? I have to treat this person as a person, and I will try to befriend that person. So I changed my approach, and I asked that person about her life, where she came from, And then all of a sudden, like, her behavior changed. And every time I would visit that patient, she was nice to me. She would open the door and she was glad to see me, you know? And that was just my strategy. I befriended difficult people, and it works. You find something that you can connect with that person, and you communicate with that person on a, you know, person to person level, like heart to heart, you know. And it took me a while because, you know, this is the subject I'm really bad at. It's like, maybe it's like math for me. Just this concept that I am the one really responsible for creating my external circumstances, because 99% of the time, and this is even with chanting, you know, that's why I chant daily to resolve this in myself. I often blame the reflection. I often blame the shadow. I often blame the other person. I often blame the external circumstance. And that's hard. That's really, really hard. But I realize, like, you know, I should slack off in my practice, because sometimes I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to chant, but with no, you know, with no purpose. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm just going to chant. And then when I encounter difficulties in daily life, I'm like, okay, I got to chant more, you know. I can laugh about it now, but it's really true. And so I'm going to read this as well. This is a liberating concept, as it means that there's no need to seek enlightenment outside ourselves or in any particular place. Wherever we are, in whatever circumstance, we can bring forth our innate Buddhahood, thus transforming our experience of our environment into Buddha's land, a joy-filled place where we can create value for ourselves and for others. So, yeah, I have encountered a lot of members over the years, and they were not in a good place. I think there was one member in particular where her life was really bad. Like, they were in poverty, and they were not doing well. They were eating just once a day, and I think she had kids. And when she started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I guess she had the realization and the wisdom to do the right things, to actually elevate her life and her kids as well. And the last time when I left, they were doing really well. And I'm not saying that Nichiren Buddhism is magic. It is not magic. It's when you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, you tap into that life force, that energy. Instead of being desperate, you tap into that life force that I can change this. No matter what happens, I can change this. And you also tap into that wisdom where you look at things in a different light. And you also tap into that courage where, like, oh no, this is what I've created. I have to take responsibility. I have to change this. So people that chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, we're so fortunate that we have this chant, that we can chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and self-reflect and change our external circumstances from the inside out. And I'm gonna read a quote as Nichiren wrote. So in the Gosho, this is like Nichiren is the founder of Nichiren Buddhism. If the minds of the people are impure, their land is also impure. But if their minds are pure, so is their land. There are not two lands, pure and impure in themselves. The difference lies solely in the good or evil of our minds. So it means that, so think of yourself like, I'm going to use another analogy, as a comedian. So whenever that comedian comes in, right, aren't you laughing when that comedian there's some certain comedians that just make you laugh just looking at their face. They bring out that, and they say things that really, really make you laugh. And I've seen quite a few comedians, like live shows before the coronavirus. And anyway, have that sort of like life condition that wherever you are like that comedian that changes the environment, that people look up to you, and that people actually see something different in you. And it actually, I had this happen to me. Someone actually, one of the home health aides that I was working with, and she was really pleasant. I really liked her. And she said, like, there's something different about me. She said, it's like when I walk in, there's like a ray of sunshine. And she likes that. You know, I bring hope, you know. I bring laughter. You know, provided I chant a lot of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo because I'm human. But yeah, when I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I have this life force that, yes, I can take on anything and I can change my environment. But if I don't chant a lot of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I'm defeated by my environment. I look at that external reality as fixed and that cannot be changed. And I'm like, okay, nope, I can't change that. That's very hard. But when I chant a lot of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I can actually change it by changing within, like shifting something. I don't know what I'm shifting internally. Maybe my attitude changes, the way I react to things, my words, my actions, they just are in alignment, and then they just push the right button. So I hope this has really elucidated you on the concept of oneness of life and environment. And again, this is like a really hard concept, and this is the most important one, because that's the reason why we're chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's so that we can change our external reality and actually elevate everybody around us, create that really wonderful place. They call it the Buddha land, but you know, that's a very hard concept to grasp. But think of yourself as the comedian walking in that room and just making people laugh. You don't have to make them laugh. You might have another talent. You know, it doesn't matter when you walk in any place, as people just notice you because you're different, because you're empowered, you're enlightened, and you know that external circumstances can change when you do. And thank you very much, and like this video and subscribe and share it to your friends, you know. And if you're a long-time member, thank you for watching this. And if you're just chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, please do check it out, sdi.org. I'm just a member. I'm doing this because I want to share my experience, because it's hard. Like if you don't have someone else to tell you that what this practice is about, it's really hard. It's really hard because this is all about experience. It's an experiential practice. It's not all concepts. It's not all theories. You actually have to go through this. And I know, and I'm doing this because, like, when I was starting out, there were people that explained the concept to me, but not in a way that I can understand, because it's all about experience. When you share your experience, sharing the concepts with the experience, you grasp it more, you know, rather than sharing like, yeah, mirror and, you know, mirror. I'm like, whoa, what? I'm like, and I'm very practical, and I like results as well. So I've been chanting 14 years, and those were like, you know, I really, really worked hard to get to where I am, like to even develop this attitude. And hopefully, if you listen to my videos or watch my videos, you will, like, your experience with chanting will be a lot better, because you know that it really does get better over time. And trust me, when I was starting out, it was really hard, because like the concepts were really hard to follow and to accept, and to live them was actually harder. But it's a practice. Chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. How many minutes? It really depends on your life. I used to chant more, but now I found that if I chant between 40 minutes to an hour, I'm okay. If less than that, that's when like things fall apart for me and I react. It could be 10 minutes for you, it could be 5 minutes, but have that consistent practice morning and evening. And if you were chanting before and you stopped chanting, pick up the practice again. Chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And you know, it's really hard. I know it's hard, but once you know that there's really light at the end of the tunnel, or that there's really hope, that things can change, and that you can change anything, literally anything, especially suffering, and just chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And thank you very much. Thank you.